To delve into the notion of understanding abusive fathers, it's essential to establish an accurate definition. An abusive father is typically characterized by a pattern of behavior that involves physical, emotional, verbal, or even psychological harm to their children and sometimes their partner. This abusive behavior often stems from their own unresolved trauma, substance abuse issues, or learned attitudes from their upbringing. Understanding the dynamics of abusive fathers is crucial for several reasons. First, it offers insights into breaking cycles of abuse. If these patterns are understood, interventions can be more effectively tailored to stop the perpetuation of violence across generations. Additionally, a comprehensive understanding aids mental health professionals and social workers in developing more empathetic and effective support strategies for both victims and abusers, potentially leading to better outcomes for all involved. In real-world applications, consider the case of intervention programs that work directly with fathers who exhibit abusive behaviors. Programs like the Fathering Project in Australia aim to redefine fatherhood by promoting positive parenting strategies, highlighting how understanding abusive tendencies allows for transformative behavioral shifts. Another example lies in court-mandated anger management classes, where fathers are taught to recognize and manage triggers, leading to less harmful interactions with their family members. Opinions supporting the need for a deeper understanding underscore the belief that many fathers engage in abusive behaviors not out of malice, but due to a lack of coping mechanisms or awareness of the damage inflicted. Experts argue that education and rehabilitation can sometimes be more effective than punitive measures in altering these destructive patterns. However, challenges arise when discussing abusive fathers. There's a persistent stigma that these individuals are irredeemable, which can greatly hinder efforts toward rehabilitation. Furthermore, some may argue that focusing on understanding the abuser risks downplaying the victim's experiences. It is a contentious balance between empathy for the abuser's background and accountability for their actions. This exploration of abusive fathers is intricately linked to broader discussions on the psychological impacts of familial abuse. By setting this context, we prepare the ground for addressing the downstream effects such abuse has on children, partners, and other family dynamics, thus weaving a comprehensive narrative that seeks healing and understanding for all affected parties. In exploring the psychological impact of abusive fathers, it is crucial to first define and understand the various types and patterns of abuse they may exhibit. Abuse can manifest in multiple forms, including physical, emotional, verbal, and sometimes sexual abuse, each leaving distinct yet profound scars on victims. Physical abuse entails the use of force, causing bodily harm, while emotional abuse manipulates emotions through threats, humiliation, or isolation, eroding the victim's self-worth. Verbal abuse, closely related, uses words as weapons to demean and control, often creating a pervasive atmosphere of fear and anxiety in the household. The significance of defining these types and patterns lies in their profound effects on victims, often leading to long-term psychological repercussions such as depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and difficulties in forming healthy relationships. Recognizing these patterns is essential not only for effective intervention, but also for initiating a broader conversation about breaking the cycle of abuse, which is pivotal to the main topic of understanding and addressing the impacts of abusive fathers. Consider the example of high-profile child advocacy organizations that often educate the public on spotting signs of psychological abuse, aiming to intervene before patterns become entrenched. Similarly, schools and community programs frequently implement initiatives to support young individuals experiencing abusive environments, providing a safe space and resources for escape or recovery. Opinions supporting this focus underscore the urgency of awareness and education. Experts assert that by understanding the nuanced dynamics of abusive fathers, society can better provide targeted support and create legal frameworks to protect victims. However, challenges arise with cultural or systemic barriers, where societal norms may conceal or even perpetuate abusive behaviors, and where the stigma of being a victim deters many from seeking help. There are also controversial viewpoints that suggest some definitions of emotional or verbal abuse may be overly broad, impacting the perception of what constitutes abuse. Nonetheless, most agree that even less overt abuse can have lasting impacts, highlighting the importance of a comprehensive understanding. This point connects deeply with the broader topic by setting a foundational understanding, influencing how the psychological and societal responses can be crafted. Identifying abuse forms a critical starting point in breaking the silence and fostering environments where victims feel empowered to seek help, ultimately transforming familial relationships and societal attitudes towards these critical issues. The psychological impact on children of having abusive fathers is a multifaceted issue, encompassing both immediate and lasting effects that shape a child's mental and emotional development. In the short term, children may exhibit symptoms such as anxiety, depression, and behavioral issues. These immediate reactions can manifest as fear of authority figures, a lack of trust in others, and difficulty in forming healthy relationships. Long-term effects may include chronic mental health issues like PTSD, low self-esteem, and difficulty maintaining stable relationships in adulthood. Some individuals may perpetuate cycles of abuse, while others might struggle with an internalized sense of blame and inadequacy. Understanding these impacts is crucial to the main topic of breaking the silence because it highlights the pervasive and enduring nature of trauma inflicted by abusive fathers. This awareness can lead to more effective interventions, policy developments, and educational programs aimed at both prevention and support for survivors. Consider the story of Mia, who grew up witnessing her father's verbal and emotional abuse towards her mother. Initially, Mia became withdrawn, struggling with school due to anxiety and a constant state of hypervigilance. As an adult, the echoes of her father's abuse manifested in her relationships, as she battled trust issues and a pervasive fear of failure. Another example could be Jonah, who, after enduring physical abuse from his father, developed anger management issues, leading to trouble with the law. These examples highlight how trauma can dynamically transform from immediate responses to deep-seated behavioral patterns. Support for this viewpoint is extensive, with numerous psychological studies illustrating the adverse effects of childhood abuse. Experts unanimously advocate for early interventions and therapeutic measures to mitigate these impacts and improve long-term outcomes for affected individuals. However, the topic is not devoid of challenges and controversies. Some might argue the variability of individual resilience or genetic predispositions that could influence the degree of psychological impact. Others propose that focusing excessively on the role of fathers might neglect other contributing factors like societal influences or maternal behavior. This point intricately links with broader aspects of breaking the silence, emphasizing the need for open conversations about domestic abuse and comprehensive support systems. It underscores the importance of acknowledging multiple forms of abuse and catalyzing community efforts to foster environments where children can safely express and process their experiences. In delving into these effects, we enhance our understanding and capacity to confront and dismantle harmful dynamics perpetuated through silence and stigma. Mechanisms of coping, in the context of victims of abusive fathers, refer to the various psychological and behavioral strategies that individuals employ to manage and mitigate the trauma associated with such abuse. These mechanisms can include both adaptive strategies, such as seeking therapy or relying on social support, and maladaptive strategies, like substance abuse or emotional withdrawal. Understanding these mechanisms is crucial, as they not only reflect the victim's immediate response to trauma, but also significantly influence their long-term psychological health and well-being. The significance of examining coping mechanisms in this context cannot be understated. Coping strategies determine how effectively a victim can navigate the psychological aftermath of abuse, which often manifests as anxiety, depression, or post-traumatic stress disorder. By highlighting and fostering adaptive coping mechanisms, professionals can help victims develop resilience and improve their mental health outcomes. In terms of real-world applications, consider the role of therapy as a coping mechanism. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, for instance, has been widely recognized as an effective tool for helping victims reframe negative thought patterns and develop healthier perspectives that mitigate the impacts of past trauma. Another example is the establishment of support groups, which offer a safe space for victims to share experiences and receive empathy, thereby reducing feelings of isolation and empowering individuals to rebuild their confidence and self-worth. Opinions supporting this concept stress the importance of individualized coping strategies, highlighting that while general interventions are beneficial, personalized approaches often yield the most significant improvements. Experts, therefore, advocate for a nuanced understanding of each victim's unique context and experiences. However, exploring coping mechanisms isn't without its challenges. Some critics argue that focusing on coping might inadvertently place the responsibility of healing solely on the victim, thereby overshadowing the need for systemic changes and holding perpetrators accountable. There's also an ongoing debate about the effectiveness of certain therapies and the potential for over-reliance on medication as a coping strategy. This exploration of coping mechanisms intricately connects to other aspects of the psychological impact of abusive fathers by providing a bridge between recognizing trauma and pursuing healing. It underscores the necessity of a comprehensive support system that not only addresses immediate emotional needs, but also promotes sustained psychological resilience. By understanding and enhancing coping strategies, we are better equipped to break the silence surrounding abuse and facilitate a path toward recovery and empowerment for victims.